right. We are live. Okay, I know nobody's joined yet, so I'll just take a minute and just say, if you're watching this as a replay, thank you guys so much for watching, and if you're joining it live, thank you so much for joining live. Let me adjust my camera just a little bit because it's a little bit... There we go. I think that's a little better. That's a little better. And, you know, I apologize because during this is a community event. This is for my subscribers. So I, will spend the time answering the comments. It may be a little bit boring to watch as a replay, but hopefully you get some fun out of it. I sure have a good time interacting with everybody. And Walt, look at that. Walt, you're the first one here. And from California, huh? Walt, welcome from Southwest Missouri. What part of California you from, Walt? I almost called you Lars. Hey there, Andrew. How are you? We got a couple of people joining now. And Prepared Brad's here. Howdy. Logan. Logan says, I love you. That's a little bit weird, but thank you. I think I know what you mean by that. It's okay. Inland Southern Californication. Okay. So Southern California, I'm guessing. Melbourne, Australia. Matoma, you were here last week too, weren't you? And Roy Jenkins says, yeah, you finally made it to one of these live streams. Stillwater. I know exactly where Stillwater is. Been there many, many times. It's all good, Logan. I'm just giving you a hard time. I appreciate it. I'm secure enough that I can say I can take that. It's okay. Well, thank you guys so much for the kind comments. I love sharing with you guys. I love helping people out. I really enjoy teaching. So that's kind of one of the reasons why I started this YouTube channel, was just to give me an outlet to teach. I used to be a trainer, no longer a trainer, so I didn't get any way to teach, and that's what I did. Yeah, it's about 90 degrees here, but not dry. It's been raining for the past couple of days. It's supposed to rain every day, but right now it's clear as can be. Who else we got in here? It's D-Clan. Asks, how many quail do I have? I don't know. 50 maybe? Somewhere right around in there. I've got a bunch of babies. If you guys were following my channel, you saw the babies last week. Well, they just went out to the grow out pen out of the brooder box today. I think I've got about 30 of those. I probably got closer to 60 quail. I'm not really sure exactly how many I have right now. Prepared Brad, you're from southern West Virginia. I've never been to West Virginia. No, I've never been to West Virginia, but spoke to plenty of people from West Virginia. Northwest Ohio, that's Andrew. Never been to Ohio either. All right. We got a lot of people here. Hey, before we get started, before I forget, next week I've got a business trip I'm going to be on. I'm going to do my best to go ahead and do a live broadcast next Thursday, but I don't know if I'll be able to do that or not, so if I don't show up, forgive me for that. I've got a day job, of course. All right, let's see what else we got there. Bird Breeder says, hi, Chris. Good evening from New York. Hey, welcome from New York. Getting kind of late there already. Well, late for me. I'm old. 8 o'clock is late. How long do I keep my birds in the brooder box? That's Andrew asking. This time of year, because it's in the the high 80s during the day, and the nights only gets down to about 79 degrees. Once they're fully feathered out, that's about 2 weeks old. They can go out to the grow out pens. Now in the wintertime, what I do in the summertime, let me back that up. What I do in the summertime is I keep the heat lamp on them for about the first week, just a little over a week, till they get their feathers and they feather out a little bit. Then I take the heat lamp off them for about 3 or 4 days. Then they go out to the grow out pens, and that works great in the summertime. In the wintertime, I'll keep the heat lamp on them for about a week and a half, and then I back it off a little bit because the garage gets pretty chilly at night in the wintertime. I back it off a little bit so that lowers the temperature about 10 degrees. And I leave it that way for about 2 days, back it off a little more, and I leave them for about 3 weeks, just kind of slowly wean them off the heat lamp. Good grief, that's a loud vehicle. Hopefully I didn't interrupt the video too much. But leave them, back it off slowly for about, 3 weeks total, and then at 3 weeks they can go out to the grow out pens, and they're usually fine at that point. Hopefully that answers that question. Sorry, I got distracted by, I think it was a semi-truck going by. Okay, what do we got here? Vancouver, Canada. It's declaring there from Vancouver, Canada. That's a ways up there. I've never been to Canada. All right. Alan says, hi, Slightly Rednecked. One of my quail went broody and hatched out its own chicks. Long story short, she killed her one chick and was pecking at her own bodies. I killed her by popping her spine. So She hatched out her chicks, but then she, my dog is going nuts. She hatched out her own chicks, but then she ended up killing them. I'm sorry to hear that. It's unusual for a quail, a Coturnix quail anyway, to go broody. It has happened. I've heard stories of it happen, and I'm hatching out chicks, but usually it's not very successful, very similar to situations what you have right there. So sorry to hear you had a bad time with that, but it sounds like you dealt with it pretty well. Roy Jenkins says, don't forget to watch the solar eclipse Monday around noon. Yeah, it's going to be like 90% eclipse right here. If you go up to Kansas City, which is about 3 hours north of us, it's supposed to be about 100%. So that's pretty cool. All right, Walt wants to know how I keep my, I'm assuming you say, how do you cool them in hot weather? I think you mean the quail. I don't. I keep them in the shade. You can see my quail hutch back there. It's under trees, so it never gets direct sunlight, and that seems to be plenty enough to keep them cool. As long as they have water all the time, they're fine. No problem. All right, so Gabriel is it Cater? I think I'm pronouncing that right, hopefully, says, hi, great channel you have. You started raising quail. You had 2 died after a week from not eating. I didn't know what happened to the rest are fine. They didn't eat. That's strange. I've never had that happen before. If they were young birds, it may been, like if they were young, like just a week old or whatever. You know, sometimes that happens. A young bird just dies for whatever reason. What I generally look at that like is just they're not passing on weak genetics, so it's not that big of a deal. If they don't have enough heat, if they get chilled before they get feathered out, that can also cause the problem too. Never had a quail that just wouldn't eat though and died. Yeah, the adult birds, Walt, that's kind of what I answered about that. I don't really do anything special, just keep them in the shade and give them water, and that seems to work fine. Bill Weber says, you had a female rabbit have her babies. She had only 3. Will she have a bigger litter next time? Her first litter, who knows? Can't really judge that by their previous litter. Typically, though, my experience has been the first litter, you never know for sure. But after that first litter, that just kind of dictates what you should expect going forward. Usually, my rabbits pretty much have big litters their first litter and going on. But occasionally, I will have one, their very first litter will have a little bit of a smaller litter and then pick up going forward. One thing you can do to have a little bit more is, and I don't know how true this is, but it is kind of a common belief, is that, you know, breed her to the male and you get a successful fall off, and then bring her back that night or the next morning and do it one more time. Some people do it 3 times to ensure a big litter. That might help a little bit. That's just something to try out and see. Good luck. Hopefully it was just a one-time thing. All right, It's Declan says, you're trying to hatch out some quail, but you don't know anything about them. Could I tell you some facts like temp, humidity, and how long do they take to hatch? Any other facts would be helpful. Yes, actually, I did a whole series on storing and hatching eggs. I could spend all kinds of time talking about it right here, but I've got a whole video series. Go back to my homepage. Not right now. Wait till the video's over. Or do it right now. It doesn't matter. Go back to my homepage, though, and you'll see in the playlist down there, there's one called Storing and Hatching Eggs or something very similar to that. And it's got a list of videos in there from, you know, collecting the eggs, what to do pre-incubation, what to do when you're incubating them, all that. It's covered pretty much in detail there. So check that out, and if you have questions on that, hit me back up and I'll do my best to clarify any of that stuff for you. But I think it's pretty clear. It should help you out quite a bit. All right, Bird Breeder says, is it common for 5.5-old week quail to start laying? Not uncommon for them to start laying, but that is a little bit early. I usually don't get my first eggs till at least 6 weeks, but occasionally you'll get one. And what usually happens in that situation is they start laying, you'll get a couple eggs from them, and then they stop for a week, and then they start picking back up, and it becomes more consistent after that. So it's nothing to worry about for sure, but I wouldn't say it's an incredibly normal thing. You're lucky, I guess, you're getting eggs early. All right, you said, this guy knows his quail, great info and great videos. Just got another batch of quail after a break, looking forward to hatching and breeding. Well, thank you very much for the kind comments. I think that's Kevy Rev Gardening. Thank you very much for the kind comments. I appreciate that. And B3000 says, how to get a better hatch rate for quail. Well, like I told, who was that? Bird Breeder. Nope, not Bird Breeder. I'm mixing up. Who was that? It's Declan, I think. The comments are disappearing on me. Like I told him, go back to my homepage and check out my series on storing and hatching eggs, and that'll give you all the information that you need to get a successful hatch. Okay, sorry, I got a text message here. Wanted to make sure it wasn't work-related and wasn't important, and it's not. And we'll deal with that later. All right, do I hunt? Matoma Martin wants to know, do I hunt? Yes, I do hunt. I don't hunt rabbit anymore because I raise rabbit, but I hunt squirrel. That's one of my favorite hunting, squirrel hunting. Love squirrel hunting. So much fun. I'm a little bit of a redneck, you can tell. And then I hunt deer, and I just picked up turkey hunting. We didn't have turkey here when I was a kid, but the Missouri Conservation Department has done a fantastic job of reintroducing and bringing them back. There's a pretty healthy population of them here now. So I just picked up turkey hunting. I've only gotten one turkey so far, hunted 2 seasons. First season got a turkey, second one didn't. So that's kind of what, those are primarily what I hunt though. All right, Thomas's Poultry Collection says TCFH. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means exactly. What's the best bedding for quail bedding in your opinion? I'm not sure if you're talking about in the brooder or after the brooder. In the brooder, I experimented with sand this time. At first, I really liked it. Then I didn't like it. And I'll tell you why I didn't like the sand in the brooder box is because the water, they tend to get the water all over the place, and that sand just holds the water in. And it got to be just a nasty mess after a couple of days. It was easy at first because you could just kind of scoop the droppings out. But boy, they filthy it up pretty quick. What I typically do in the brooder box is put them on paper towels for the first couple of days, maybe 3-4 days, something like that. And then I switch them over to pine shavings. That seems to work pretty well for me so far. I think I may go back to doing that. Now, as far as my quail in the cages back there, I don't use any bedding for them. They're on wire cages, and I have sand boxes in there, and that works pretty well for me. But I don't use any bedding on them. Hopefully that answers your question. All right, It's Declan says, thanks for the help. You'll watch the lives. You'll keep watching the lives. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. Mega, is that Mega Jokerg? I think I've got that right. Says, hi, how are you? Hi, how are you? She said hi. I said, I think it's hi. She. I said, hi, how are you back? Prepared Brad said that he wants to know, let's see, I did a dry hatch. What was the humidity during that? And what did you go up to for lockdown? Okay, for my dry hatch, I just didn't add any water, and I think the humidity stayed about 40%, somewhere right around in there. Of course, when you get down to about 40%, the humidity gauge is really not all that accurate, so I really don't know what the humidity was. When I went into lockdown, I did fill the channels up. I filled a couple of them up, bumped it up to 70% humidity, just like I normally would during any other lockdown. Had decent results with that. Not enough to really say whether it was, a good, method or not. I'm going to probably experiment with that a little bit more before I make a decision on that. All right, Walt says, what prices are normal quail selling for in your area, both chicks and adults? Good question. Chicks around here, you can usually get them for about $1 per week old. So, 1 week olds go for $1, 2 week olds go for $2, 3 weeks go for $3, 4 weeks go for $4, and then they max out at about, sorry, my dog going nuts. I mean, make sure he wasn't doing anything wrong. They max out at about $5 to $6, somewhere around in there. You can usually buy adults for about $5 to $6 a piece. All right, B3000 says, can you make a hunting video? I might make a hunting video someday. You never know. It doesn't really necessarily fit with the rest of my content, but heck, I've got some videos out there that don't fit with the rest of my content, and hunting is something I do enjoy doing. So who knows? Maybe the next time I go squirrel hunting, my wife's been wanting to go. She's never been. So maybe I'll take her hunting, and we'll do a video on that. I have taken my camera with me deer hunting a couple of times, but I'll tell you what, it's next to impossible to get any kind of good footage while you're deer hunting because you're sitting there for hours on end, with nothing happening, and then all of a sudden there's a deer standing in front of you, and you can't really reach for the camera and turn it on and do all that and still get the shot pulled off. So who knows? Maybe someday I'll manage that, but it hasn't proved successful so far. All right, Bill Weber says, thanks for responding. It's been really hot here, and when you put your females in with your male, she doesn't want to do anything. Will he do more once the weather cools down? He should. Generally, that's not the case, though. If you're saying your male doesn't want to do anything, yeah, check his weight. Make sure he's not overweight. That's generally, if a male's not into breeding, it's generally because they're overweight. So you might cut back his diet just a little bit. I personally would wait until it cools down to breed them, though. They have a really hard time in the summertime anyway with the heat. They wear big fur coats. So it's really not good to add the extra stress of breeding to them, in my opinion. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying I would personally wait until it cools down. Wait till you get into the fall, till the winter time. That's when I'm going to pick breeding back up myself. All right, Bird Breeder says, help, came home from work and found an 8-week-old hen, laid a huge egg. Huge. It's at least the size of a ping pong ball or a lot larger. Not sure how she passed it, but it's enormous. Well, that happens from time to time. Every once in a while you find one of those eggs, you're like, holy cow, that's the size of your head, bird. Poor bird. But as long as you don't have any like prolapse or anything, and you'll know if you have prolapse, just look at the vent. you'll know if you have prolapse. As long as you don't, it's probably nothing to worry about. It's a one-time thing, especially when they first start laying. Sometimes they'll lay just a huge egg. Sometimes they'll lay little bitty tiny eggs. You'll get oblong eggs. You'll get all kinds of weird eggs. But it's nothing really to worry about. What does my dog have? Oh, he's got a towel out of his doghouse. You guys probably saw that in the background. All right. Bobby Coaster says, hi, I will send a pickled quail eggs recipe later. You know, I tried pickled quailed eggs one time. I don't know if I don't like pickled eggs or if I just didn't have a good recipe because they weren't good. But yeah, share your pickled egg recipe. Go in the comments on this video after it publishes, because the comments here in the chat don't stick around with the video, and post it in there if you would. Keep in mind though, what I will say about pickled eggs, whether it's quail eggs, chicken eggs, any of those kinds of things, they are not safe for canning. So if you plan on pickling your own eggs, pickle your own eggs, put them in the fridge, and eat them within 30 days. They're not safe, even if you pressure can them, not safe. And I know people that say, I've done it for years and never had a problem, but that's kind of like playing Russian roulette. Botulism is a serious, serious thing. There's reasons why it's not safe to do at home. There are companies that do pickle eggs and sell them on grocery store shelves, but they have much bigger facilities, much higher pressure, higher temp canners than we could possibly get at home, and it's not safe to do at home. So just putting that disclaimer out there because I don't want anybody to take your recipe, try to can them up, and then end up dying from it. That would be bad. All right, you said local parrot store sells adult quails $5 a piece. Yeah, that's about what they go for around here, so that sounds pretty reasonable. Cameron says, good day. Well, good day to you, too. Walt says, big egg might double yolk. Yeah, you're right. Walt says this, too. A big egg means a double yolk. Yeah, most of the time a big egg is a double yolk. They're not going to be good for incubating. Fine to eat, though. You get a little bit more yolk, and personally, I like the yolk, so that's a bonus for me. Roy Jenkins says, you have an issue with large black snakes getting into the cages with your smaller quail, no matter how secure I think they are. I've caught a few in spring traps. Any other suggestions? To keep snakes out, I don't know what kind of cage material you're using, but if you're using hardware cloth, like 1/4-inch hardware cloth, they shouldn't be able to get in. I don't know how they're getting past that. That's my suggestion, is wrap your cage with hardware cloth and seal off any holes. They only need a hole about that big in order to get in. So seal off any of those holes. If you've got maybe a hole going into it where you're running like your water lines or something like that, maybe get some of that spray insulation, that stuff, foam insulation stuff, spray it and fill that in. That's the best suggestion I have for you. You might, I don't know how this would affect snakes, but you might lay take like a piece of particle board or something like that and nail down a piece of electric wire to it and put it around the base of your cages. Unless they're coming from the trees, put it around the base of your cages. When that snake crawls over that, they'll hit that electric wire, and putting it on a piece of particle board will keep it from grounding out, and you know that'll keep them. That may keep them off of it. I don't know. That's the only suggestion I have. All right. Matoma Martin says you let them walk on 1/4-inch, more or less than 2 weeks. Put them on 1/2 inch, and it works fine. You're talking about moving your birds from the brooder box to grow out pens. I use pretty much 1/4-inch hardware cloth forever. I don't ever move up to a bigger hardware cloth myself, but that sounds like that would work just fine. Thomas's Poultry Collection says, or is that part of your name, TCFH? That may be part of your name, because that keeps popping up and I don't know what that means exactly. If you put 1-week-old quail chicks in with adult quails, will they kill them? Maybe, probably, more than likely, but you can't guarantee it. You never know. It kind of depends on the specific birds, how much space you have, how many males you have. There's a lot of different factors that go into that. But generally speaking, when you put young birds in with older birds or any new birds together, they do pick on each other. Now, I have had some success. I've only done it a couple of times. I'm going to try to experiment with some of these newer, younger ones. But I have had some success taking some birds that were almost like 5 weeks old, not quite sexually mature, but almost, throwing them in with my existing quail, and they seem to mingle in just fine. Not too much fighting, not too much picking on them. But if you wait till they're sexually mature, or wait till they're really, really, do it before that when they're really, really small, then yeah, you might have problems. Try it out. Throw a couple of them in there and see what happens. If they start getting picked on, pull them back out real quick. That's my suggestion. All right, Prepared Brad says, do I butcher rabbits based on weight or age? More on weight than age, but I try to get rabbits that are going to be of butcher weight, which is about 5 pounds for me, by about 6 to 8, well, about 8 weeks old. So if I can do that, now if I have to go a little bit longer to get them up to that, I will. I'll go up to 10 to 12 weeks, but I really don't like to go past 12 weeks. That's just too much food input to get a rabbit out of that. Your cost per pound of meat goes way, way up if you do that. So that's my feedback on that. Yeah, my dog is cute in the background. Well, it's DeClan saying that. Yeah, he's a cute dog. I showed him off last week. I don't know where he is now. He's running around here somewhere, but he is a puppy for sure. He's kind of wound up right now. Here he comes. Come here, buddy. Oh, calm down, calm down. He's just running laps around here. I thought he was going to knock the table over there for a minute. All right, you said, let's see, Walt says, if the cage is elevated, wrap roofing sheet metal on posts to prevent snakes crawling up. Hey, that's a good suggestion, like a cone shape maybe that goes down. I think that's kind of what you're talking about. That's a good suggestion. That would probably work. In fact, you could probably just do that with hardware cloth as well. I know we've done something similar with birdhouses when we used to build them in Boy Scouts. We would put like a hardware cloth box around the hole and just sticking out about that far, and trim the ends and bend it out to where it was kind of a box like this, and then the ends bent out, down, and onto the sides, and that kept the snakes out of them. So that's a good suggestion. All right, Sierra says you're trying to set up a watering system for your quail with cups like yours, but you have a couple of questions. First, do they have different sizes cups for chickens than quail? And second, how many birds per cup? You know, good question on that. No, they pretty much just make one size. I'm actually working on, I may have a source for that, and I may start selling those myself if you guys are interested in purchasing, you know, quail watering supplies, rabbit stuff, like that kind of thing from me. You know, let me know in the comments, again, after this video posts, what you would be interested in, and I'll see what I can do to source that stuff out. I do have a source for water cups, but it's probably going to be several months before I actually get them in stock and get it available to sell. And I'm going to probably put them together in, you know, I put them on PVC pipe. Put them together on PVC pipe, so you can buy the whole pipe. All you gotta do is plug a hose into it and go. So that's my plan on that. But no, they don't really make different sizes for that. You don't need them. The one size that's for chickens and all, it works for quail too. They have an incredibly long neck. They figure it out pretty quick, and they work really well with that. Now, one thing I will tell you about those water cups, you're talking about the red ones with the little yellow, they have to peck at it to get the water out of it, is a lot of people think, oh, those don't work. Here's what you need to know. They will not hold water. The quail will peck at that, the water comes out, they drink it up as fast as it comes out. It's kind of like a water nipple. So they're not going to hold water. What a lot of people think is they expect them to be full of water all the time or hold water in the bottom of them. They don't. That doesn't mean they're not working. So don't stress about that. The quail figure that stuff out pretty quick. They go right to them, they drink from them, no problems. Even if you don't see water in the bottom, they're still drinking from it. Oh, and how many birds per cup? I forgot that part of it, I'm sorry. You know, I've got three water cups in my cage that has like 25, 30 birds in it. It's really, I don't think it's that big of a deal. As long as you keep water going to it all the time, it's not a problem. The only time it ever becomes a problem is if I let it run dry and then I put water in it. Boy, they all just go to it and they're fighting over who can get the drinks the first. But other than that, it's not a big deal. You could probably get away with just 2 of them in that pen for 30 birds and they'd be fine. They don't all go to it at the same time and drink from it at the same time. Cameron Dupree says, your rabbit gave birth, well, she said my rabbit, not mine, but hers. I assume that's her, I don't know. Maybe a man, I don't know. My rabbit gave birth and then died 2 days later. I'm sorry to hear that. That's terrible. You can try supplementing that, or if you have another rabbit that recently gave birth, you might be able to foster the kits off that bunny. Other than that, you're going to be probably getting something like kitten milk or even goat milk. You can go to your vet probably or farm supply stores and pick that up and feed them. You need to feed them at least once a day. It's going to be a long road. It's going to be difficult to take care of. Sorry you have to deal with that. Good luck, and I hope it works out well. All right. Okay, yeah, it's part of your channel name. What does TCFH stand for? It's Thomas's Poultry Collection. TCFH, the channel. I don't know what that means. I can't figure it out. I could guess, but... All right, It's DeClan says, do you let your quail use a sand bath? And if so, how do you get them to go into it? Because mine don't use it. I'll tell you what I do is I put sand in a container and I put it in there and they go in it. There's nothing special that I do to get them to use a sand bath. they use it. In fact, they lay most of their eggs in the sandbox. Now, I do have a pretty shallow sandbox. I'm looking at some other solutions because even with, I've got like a big, it's a 24 by 24 dropping pan. If you guys seen some of my other videos, you've probably seen it, that goes in my big hutch, but it's pretty shallow. And they get in there and they dust bath and they kick all the sand out of it. It takes them about a week and a half to do that, but still having to fill that thing up with sand every week and a half is kind of a pain. So I'm thinking about going to some bigger containers. Somebody suggested to me that, sorry, I got distracted by a comment there. I'll have to get to here in a second. Somebody suggested to me, and I don't remember who it was. If it was somebody in the chat, let me know, because I need to give you credit, to use those turkey roasting pans, the disposable aluminum ones you can buy at like Walmart and whatnot. They're like a couple of bucks, and they've got real high sides on them. So those would probably work really well. The quail can get over pretty high. I mean, I've got 2x4, it's about that tall, and they just walk right over it like it's no big deal. Even the babies, even the 2-week-old babies, they just hop right up on it and climb right over, no problem. So they wouldn't have any problem getting into something that's 3 or 4 inches tall. All right, Walt, you said you didn't watch the cleaning water system video, but you're thinking black plastic drip line, 1/2-inch mainline tubing would eliminate algae. You know what? I actually mentioned that in my video. It probably would eliminate algae, but I don't like the idea of using that myself for a couple of reasons. If there's any sunshine whatsoever hitting that, that's going to heat up like crazy. I don't know if you've ever had a garden hose sitting out in the sun and you turn that water on and put your hand over it. It comes out almost scalding hot. So I really don't think that's a good idea. And also, I like to be able to see through the tubing in case something gets in the water system and obstructs the line. I'll be able to tell where it is. Honestly, I mean, go watch that video. Don't let me stop you watching that video, but I'm going to spoil it for you. I really don't do much of anything but keep it in the shade. That keeps my algae down pretty low, and I get a little bit of algae, but I don't worry about it. A little bit of algae is not going to hurt anything. Your rabbits will be fine drinking out of a water system that has a little bit of algae in it. As long as you're not getting like black mold or something like that, it's not that big of a deal. Tracy says, hey, slightly. Hey, Tracy, how are you? Rachel McVeigh says, howdy. Hey, Rachel. Thanks for coming back. You were here last week, I think. Thanks for all your help. That's what the TCFH stands for. Okay. Maybe? No, you're just saying thanks for all your help. Okay. Still, I want to know what the TCHF stands for. But you're welcome for the help. Sierra Date says, I have a turkey roasting pan and the sand is still all over the place. I was actually thinking about a small cat litter box with high sides. I've been toying around in my mind thinking of something like that too. Maybe something that, like maybe even an enclosed box kind of thing that has like a doorway they can get into it. Or at least really high sides with a doorway they can get into it, so there's only one low opening. I don't know the best solution for that. I also toyed with the idea of, my hutches, the way they're built, one section is kind of closed off from everything, and it's got a doorway to go into the open section and into the closed section. And I thought about putting a board underneath that and just filling that with sand and not even putting a box in there. And then when I needed to clean it out, all I'd have to do is slide that board out and maybe put something under it to catch the sand, sift out the droppings, and then dump the sand back in. Toyed with that idea. I may still go ahead and do that. I don't know yet. Walt Lars says, well, water or non-treated water of city Maine. Oh, me? Well, I have city water, so it's city water. It's got a little bit of chlorine in it, so to your point, it's probably, that does help keep the algae down a little bit, but honestly, algae still grows in the water. If you put it out in anything, it doesn't take any time for algae to grow in it. So, you probably would have a little bit more problem maybe with well water, but still, keeping it shaded, keeping it out of the direct sun, that's going to help a lot with that. And you can just run some bleach water through it to clean it out. Or somebody suggested, don't remember who that was, they had it in a comment on that video, suggested cleaning it out with salt. So just putting salt through the lines and kind of shaking. He didn't say all that, but that's what I'm assuming. That would work pretty well. Salt's a good abrasive. It works really well in cleaning cast iron pans. I don't see why it wouldn't work to clean algae out of your water system too. And you don't have to worry about rinsing it out like you would bleach water. All right. Well, Tracy, I'm doing really well. Thanks for asking. All right, Rachel McVeigh says, breeding during the eclipse. Is it sure bet that my does will actually lift if they breed them during... I have no idea. This is the first eclipse. Well, we had an eclipse when I was like in 5th grade, I think, 6th grade, something like that. That would have been like 80, I don't know, 87, something like, no, 86 maybe, I don't know. But I don't think it was a full eclipse at the time either. I barely remember that. I must have been younger than 5th grade. I don't remember. But anyway, I don't know that the eclipse is going to help them breed. If anything, I think it would hinder them breeding a little bit, because it's like all of a sudden nighttime in the middle of the day, and rabbits need kind of a lot of light in order to be in the mood, so to speak. I've never had a real problem in the wintertime when the days get shorter, but they definitely breed a lot easier when there's more light out. So I don't think... Oh yeah, I am aging myself. Well, I'll tell you guys how old I am. I'm 43. So I think I'm 43. Maybe I was born in 74. Yes, I'm 43. There we go. Taylor. Oh, Southern California. Tyler G is from Southern California, and Walt is from Southern California. You guys are neighbors. You just started, okay, this is Pranks for Days, says you just started incubating. Any tips? Maybe I need to do another incubating video. I had a lot of questions about that tonight. Yeah, had a couple of questions about it earlier. I actually did a whole series on hatching and storing eggs. If you go back to my homepage, and like I told them, don't do it right now. Wait till the video's done. Stick around for the end of the live video, but go back to my homepage. You'll see playlists listed down there. One of them is hatching and storing eggs. If you click on that, there's like 4 or 5 videos in there that go through everything, how to collect the eggs, how to store them, what to do with them before you put them in the incubator, how to incubate them, the temperature, the humidity, all that stuff's listed out in there. So pretty descriptive videos. I've gotten really good feedback on them. Lots of people saying they've really helped them. So go check those out. They should help you out quite a bit. Okay, Roy Jenkins says the change in gravity from the eclipse is about the same change as holding a penny over your head. So not really much of a change, I'm guessing. Walt, you're 61, huh? Well, all I can see in your avatar is your beard, but it doesn't look a day over 50. So that helps. Mine's getting there. It's almost gray, not quite. You know, I was wondering, Andrew Badcock says, does anyone use quail feathers for fishing flies? I was actually wondering that today, whether anybody actually builds fishing flies made out of quail feathers. Might be something to consider. You know, if you save up your quail feathers, if you've got a local sports shop in town or something, they may actually buy them from you. I don't know. Something to think about. Is there a website where I could buy jumbo quail eggs? That's Pranks for Days. Absolutely is. Kansas City Quail Farm sponsored one of my videos not too long ago. If you go back and you look for where to buy quail eggs and you find my video on my list of videos, there's a link in there. He runs a discount periodically for my viewers. I don't think it's active right now. I don't know if it'll be active at any time in the future, but if you click on that link, if it's active, it'll show you discount. And great birds. I've got some of his birds back here. Fantastic, healthy birds. My jumbos are great, big, nice birds, lay a bunch of eggs. Couldn't be happier with the results from them. So go check him out. If you don't go through that link, just make sure you tell him that Slightly Rednecked sent you there, because he's a good guy, and I want to make sure that he knows I've got his back. He sponsored a video, and I want to make sure he knows that that it was well worth it for him. All right, Tyler G says you like my quail videos. Keep it up. Well, thanks. I do plan on keeping it up. I'm working on different content and video ideas. As long as I can keep coming up with those, I'll keep posting videos. All right, Tracy Hedford says, how do you deal with foxes? I don't have a problem with foxes. I've had a few of them come to my hutches, but they're raised up so high. My hutches, the bottom of them hit me about not quite the belt, just a little bit above that the foxes don't seem to be able to get into it. I mean, I've got them on the game camps coming around, checking around, but they can't get into the quail hutches themselves, and they left. They haven't been back in a long, long time. So it hasn't been a problem for me. But I will tell you, if you have a big problem with that, and you're like keeping them on the ground or whatever, and the foxes are getting in there, one thing that you might try is string electric wire around your hutches, and about every 4 or 5 feet, take some aluminum foil, fold it over in just like a long, thin strip, put some peanut butter on that, fold that over the electric wire. Those foxes will come up to it, or whatever else is coming around will come up to that, smell that peanut butter, they'll go to that, they'll lick that peanut butter, but they'll only do it once. It will send them running the other direction, and that usually is a pretty good deterrent for predators, any kind. All right, so William Hernandez says, what do you do with your rabbit fur? Honestly, most of it I just throw away. I'm toyed with a little bit of tanning, but I haven't really got that down yet. Whenever I do, I'll post some videos on how to do that. Honestly, most of my butcher rabbits, though, they're not really suitable for tanning, anything more than just like craft use, because they don't have their adult coats in. Their fur's not really that grown out, and their skin's awful thin at that point. So they don't really work well for tanning. But hey, it's something to do to practice to just get the technique down. So once I do that, once it works out well, I'll post some videos on how to do it. All right, Walt says, how's the Celadon Blue Eggs project coming along? Well, I'm getting Celadon eggs. I just hatched some out, so we'll see when these guys grow out, which ones are laying Celadon eggs. I don't know how I'm going to separate those out. What I'm probably going to have to do is collect a bunch of Celadon eggs and incubate those only. Because once they hatch out, you can't tell them from the rest of the birds. You don't know which ones are Celadon eggs layers. So unless I start taking birds and putting them in cages, single by themselves until they lay an egg, I won't know which ones are the Celadon layers. And I don't know which males are Celadon males either. So if I take Celadon only eggs and put them in an incubator and hatch them out and keep those birds together completely throughout their life cycle, then theoretically I should get Celadon egg layers from them. It may take me a couple of generations to weed out the ones that aren't, but that may be what I have to do. I'm not sure if I'll do that or not yet. The Celadon eggs are pretty cool, but I don't know if it's really worth putting all that effort into me. They just look different, that's all. So, who knows? Sorry, I've been talking nonstop. Got to get a drink. This is not Pepsi this week. It is Coke because it was the one that was on sale. I am a soda pop junkie, though. All right. Andrew Badcock says, when you're out back recording, I see a mic. Do you use a camera? Do I use a camcorder with it? The sound quality is awesome. Oh, my mic setup that I use for most of my videos is a cheap lapel mic. I think that cost me like $15, and I use like a Sony digital voice recorder, and I just plug it into that and clap my hands at the beginning of the video. And is it a mosquito on my head? Yes, it is. Mosquitoes this time of year. Clap my hands at the beginning of the video, and then I use that as a point to match up the audio between the video clip and from the digital sound recording, and then I just delete out the audio from the camera itself. Right now I'm using a DSLR camera. I was using a Canon HD camcorder, HF54. I can't remember the actual name of that video camera, but it worked pretty well. But the DSLR, it's a Canon Rebel 6 Ti, I think. It actually has better quality. It's a little bit easier to use in some ways. You can zoom with the lens a little bit easier. I like it a little bit better. So that's what I've been using. So Tracy Hedford said, ouch. Well, it didn't hurt. I caught him. Look, there's another one, I think. I caught him before he got too much blood out of me. All right, Walt Lars says, rabbit fur smells terrible when it gets wet. Yeah, it can, but most things do, honestly. All right, B3000 says, how do you keep the quail from spilling their food? I did a video of that on a while back on no spill, no waste quail feeders. And they're not no waste, but they're pretty close, pretty darn close to no waste. And what I use is like a big Glad size. It's like a Glad family container, the cheap disposable, food storage containers, but it's the big one. I don't remember exactly how big it is. And I just cut some holes as close to the top as I can, and they're about, I don't know, what is that? I don't know, half-inch hole, something like that, maybe a little bit bigger than that. I got them in with my pocket knife and just kind of eyeball it, and then I just fill it up to the bottom of those holes. The quail stick their head through that hole and eat from there, and it works pretty well. It's limited my waste considerably. Check back on my videos though. There's one for it's got a thumbnail where it's got like traditional quail feeders, like the big long red one with the holes all down it, and it's got a big X across it. So you should be able to spot it pretty quick. I think it's like how to build a no waste quail feeder. I can't remember what it's called, but you should be able to find it pretty easily through there. It was posted probably about maybe close to a year ago. All right, Michael S. says, does it matter if you're using the small eggs to incubate, or should you just use the large ones? Is there a correlation between egg size and quail hatching size? I don't know if there is or not. I haven't been able to really, because once they hatch and they're a couple days old, you don't know which chicks came from which eggs, so it's hard to tell. In theory, I think maybe the bigger eggs will produce bigger chicks, but I don't know if that's true, honestly. What I do find is if you have exceptionally small eggs or exceptionally large eggs, they don't tend to hatch anyway. I would not try to incubate the exceptionally large eggs. They're typically double yolks, and usually if anything does develop, it's developing two birds, and they just end up dying in the shell. And I think that's, I don't know if it's cruel or not, but if I can avoid it, I would. They very seldom, if ever, actually make it out of the shell. All right. Gil says, do you watch basketball? Kind of a random question, but no, I don't really watch basketball. I'm not a big sports fan. I'll catch a football game every once in a while. Being from Southwest Missouri, I got to watch the Chiefs whenever they play, and I don't even really watch them every time they play, just every great once in a while. But I'm not a big sports fan, honestly. Walt asks, there's hair on my screen? Is that what you said? This is Yil saying, their hair on your screen. I don't know. Maybe on my, maybe there's a crack in the lens or something. I don't know exactly. I'm sorry, I'm not seeing that myself or how to correct it. Didn't come from me, that's for sure, if there is. Okay, well, doesn't matter. This is Michael S. says, doesn't matter if you use a small egg ink. Okay, I already answered that question. Walt says, you like the idea of being able to add a couple of blue eggs to a dozen egg carton for sale. You know, I thought about that too. I don't really sell that many eggs, but if you're selling eggs, then the blue eggs are probably a pretty big seller. I might take some down to the Nick's Poultry Swap and sell them there because I don't think anybody around here has seen them before. Joey says, I have a PVC pipe with holes strapped outside the cage, and they put their head through the 1-inch holes and eat without kicking it. Yeah, I've seen those kinds of setups before. That's a great idea. My only hold up with that is that my quail are outside, and I don't want to have holes that big in my cage. As somebody mentioned earlier, black snakes getting into their cage. I like to keep hardware cloth all the way around the outside to keep anything out, and it's worked pretty well for me. And I like my feeders to be on the inside for that reason alone. But I have toyed with some ideas. I've got some thinking of it, and if I ever come up with a good solution for it, I will share it on here. But I've toyed with some ideas on building some kind of system that works very similar to that, but you can fill from the outside of the cage. You don't have to open it up to fill it. Just haven't come up with that yet. Oh, Heel says your profile picture looks like hair. I'm sorry, not hell. That was horrible. Your profile picture looks like hair. You're right, it does kind of look like hair now that you mention it. I didn't get the joke the first time. I'm sorry. So you did trick me, yeah. I didn't think of it being hair on the screen, but I didn't quite follow. I was looking at my lens here trying to figure out where the hair was. Okay, Joey, at least I didn't have... Well, at least you don't have does animals, but I do have a little roof on the pipes for rain. You don't. Oh, what you're saying is you don't have the problems with snakes and those kinds of things getting into your quail hutch. You know, rats can do the same thing. So if you have rats around, that may be something to kind of keep an eye on. But yeah, if you don't have problems with it, no sense in changing it. If you ever do, though, you know, you'll know what to do. Just wrap it with hardware cloth to keep those things out. All right. I don't know if we're getting a little bit of a lag there on my screen. I don't know if you guys saw the lag or not. My chat's not keeping... There he goes. Okay. Andrew Babcock says, we sent hard-boiled quail eggs with the kids to school for lunch, and a lot of people ask about them and want them. It's an idea if you have kids to help get some business if you want to sell. You know, that's a good point. That's a great idea. Sometimes I show up to work with hard-boiled eggs, or I go to... you know, family gatherings, or like I'm in a garden club, we always have snacks. Sometimes I'll just devil them, and I'll bring deviled quail eggs to that. And you talk about a crowd pleaser. When everybody sees those deviled quail eggs, they always ask the same question. It gives you an opportunity to give a really smart aleck response. They always say, you know, where did you get quail eggs? And I always say, out of a quail butt. Where else are you going to get quail eggs? But yeah, it's a good selling point because then they want quail eggs themselves. So until they see how much they run for, because honestly, if I'm going to sell them, they need to be like $3, $4 a dozen. And, you know, that's not worth it for most people when they're eating them. They'll buy them once or twice, but not on a regular basis. You know, one thing I did do, though, is, like my stepson, I made him an omelet this morning with a dozen quail eggs. It was just a cheese omelet, but I told him, go to school, tell everybody you had 12-egg omelet for breakfast. You got to see the look on people's face whenever you tell them that, like, 12 eggs, oh my gosh, how'd you eat that? Okay, Tyler G says, I have a pair of bob whites... of white bob white. She started laying this summer, beautiful bird. I don't think I've ever seen a white bob white. We used to have a lot of bob white wild around here. They've kind of disappeared over the years. Starting to make a little bit of a comeback, I hear, but we just don't see them like we used to. I miss them. Joey says, you do have a lot of blackbirds eating the feed, but that's over with the roof. Oh, blackbirds are getting in your quail feeder because it's hung on the outside of the cage. I didn't think about that. That's a good thought. Blackbirds would probably do that. But the roof kind of keeps them out, I guess. Good idea on the roof. Walt says, gotta go. The boss needs me. Well, Walt, thanks for joining. Have a good evening, and we'll see you again on the next video. Pranks for Days says, sorry for the bother, but can you make DIY videos? There's no bother to that at all. I make a lot of DIY videos. I did one on the watering system. I did one on the feeders. What kind of DIY videos are you looking for? I might be able to do that for you. Just give me some specifics and I'll see what I can do. Kyle Clark says, at what age is the optimal age to butcher quail? Usually about 6 to 8 weeks. After that, they'll continue to grow a little bit, but the weight they put on and the size after that is really pretty minimal. They hit maturity about 6 to 8 weeks. There's no reason you can't let them go longer. They don't get tough like a lot of animals do as they get older, so you don't need to really eat them young for that standpoint. It's just a matter of, it's just the weight gain's not worth it after that. You're putting too much food in to get the extra weight. All right, Prepared Brad says, do you do any cool things with eggs other than pickling or deviled? Whatever cool things you can do with eggs. I use them just like I would chicken eggs. About 4 eggs, usually 3 to 4 eggs per chicken egg. So if a recipe calls for a chicken egg, 3 or 4 quail eggs can go in it. So I just substitute them for regular eggs. I don't really buy eggs. I just use quail eggs. I don't know if that's cool or not, but that's how I use them. Pranks for Days says, can you make a DIY brooder? Yeah, I've actually shown my brooder box in videos before. It's nothing really more than a Rubbermaid container. One of the big, 30-gallon Rubbermaid containers. And I might just cut half the top off and stapled some hardware cloth to it so they have ventilation. And that's where I put my heat lamp. And I use the clear one so you can see through the side. That's it. That's what my brooder box is. I can put a video together on it, and I may do that someday. Or someday soon, who knows. B3000 says, have you ever got a white Coturnix quail egg? Yeah, I get white eggs every great once in a while. It's like, you always say the bird ran out of toner. And if you take a quail egg, any quail egg for that matter, and just kind of rub on it, and especially like with water and wash it real good, scrub it, all that pigment will come off and it'll be a white egg. Now don't do that if you plan on storing the egg for any period of time, because you've washed off the protective membrane and the egg will go bad really, really quick and it won't incubate well, so don't do that with your incubating eggs. But if you want to just try it out sometime, try it. It's kind of a neat thing. Alright, Bird Breeder says, what is the shelf life of a quail egg? We know store chicken eggs are months old when we get them, but quail eggs last for a very long time, kind of like chicken eggs, and honestly, you don't even need to put them in the fridge. Eggs will last for an incredibly long time just sitting out on your counter. Now, my quail eggs I do put in the fridge because they are fertilized, and if you get up above like 75 degrees, there's a good chance that they're going to start developing, and that's when you start getting like the blood spots in your eggs when you eat them, and you don't want that. So that's why I put them in the refrigerator. But they'll last, good grief, I've had them last for several months, 2-3 months, something like that. Yeah, I am talking a lot. I'm going to take a drink here in a minute. I'm swatting mosquitoes if you're wondering what I'm doing. Look like, what was that movie? I can't remember, the Chris Farley movie where they jump out of the car, bees, and they start swinging and run the cops off of them. Alright, there's my drink. Prepared Brad says, you have a brooder box video. I made one with the temp control ammo box, and it is awesome. Yeah, that temp control ammo box was pretty cool. I really don't use it anymore. It was kind of a neat thing, and it was so cheap to make that I thought, why not try it out and see how well it works? But honestly, I don't even find it's really all that necessary. I just stick a heat lamp on them. I don't even monitor the temperature. I just watch the birds. So I don't stick a thermometer in my brooder box. I put a heat lamp on it, pretty close. And if all the birds are all over on the other side, I move it away from the box a little bit. And if they're all over under the heat lamp, I move it a little closer to the box. That's how I monitor the temperature. I let the birds tell me what they want. If they're all spread out all over the place, well, I just leave it right where it is, and that works pretty well. Sunny V says, great tip. I'm not sure which tip you said was great, but glad you liked it. Tyler G says, you like the silver Coturnix. Do you sell the eggs? I'm not really set up to sell eggs. I'll sell a few locally here, but I'm not set up to ship them, that's for sure. If you want some silver Coturnix, though, go check out my video on where to buy quail and quail eggs, and check out Kansas City Quail Farm. They have a great selection of all kinds of different birds. That's where I got my silver Coturnix from. He's a great guy. He'll take care of you, and just make sure you tell him that I sent you, because he sponsored a video a while back. I want him to know that he's still getting some business off of that. Good guy. He does a great job, and you'll get great quality eggs out of that, great hatch rates. Use mosquito repellent, says William Hernandez. Well, yeah, I probably should have done that. I've got some. I keep it in the truck. I use it all the time when I come out here. They weren't swarming around when I came out here, an hour ago. Now they're just coming out. I got that one. So yes, next time I'll try to remember the mosquito repellent and blow it on me, or spray it on me. All right, M and K Meadow Homestead says, hi Chris, my doe bunny is due at the end of the month. When do you suggest I put the nest box in with her? Usually about day 27, somewhere right around in there, 26. Yeah, that's usually a good day. Watch your rabbit every once in a while. Go out there like once every day when it starts getting past about day 20 and throw a handful of straw in there. If she picks it up and starts running around the cage with it, hanging out both sides of her mouth, she's ready for the nest box. That's the best way to tell. If you put it in too early, she'll use it like a litter box. It's not really good. But as soon as she starts, like I said, just picks that up and starts running around the cage with it, and you'll know, it'll be obvious, that's a good time to put that nest box in. It's usually about day 26. All right, Aspen Ronnie says, would you ever do breed rabbits? I'm not sure what you mean. Would I ever do breed rabbits? I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm not sure if I understand the question. If you mean, do I ever breed my rabbits? Yeah, I breed them all the time. And I've done videos on how to breed them, if that's what you're asking. If it's something else, let me know, and I'll do my best to answer that. All right, Bird Breeder says, which quail from KC Quail are the best for largest eggs, jumbo meat or jumbo farrow? Jumbo farrow lay the largest eggs. Now, how much bigger they are than jumbo meat makers, I don't know. Honestly, the birds are very, very similar, but the jumbo farrows are what I have. I get good size eggs out of them, and they're great big birds, so they work well as a meat bird. I think the jumbo meat makers actually just kind of maybe get to size a little bit quicker. I think that may be the difference, but I really don't know for sure. They look pretty much the same to me. All right, what else we got there? William Hernandez says, you're in Kansas City, Kansas. Where do you stay? I'm in Joplin, Missouri. So not too far from you. 3-hour drive to the south. You probably know where Joplin is. All right, kind of calm down with the comments. What kind of time we got here? 7:51. We're coming up on an hour, so going to be cutting this short pretty quick. Anything else we want to talk about before we close this video out for the day? I don't know how many people got in here. 33 people. Let me tell you guys while I'm waiting for some comments to stream through. There's one I'll get to here in just a second. Thank you so much for joining this video. This is probably one of my favorite videos to do all week, every week. I really look forward to the time where we can just interact one-on-one. I can't see you, I can't hear you, but I do still feel like I get to know you guys a little bit. And that's really why I do these videos, is because I really do want to connect with people. I'm a people person, and I just really appreciate you guys taking your time to join this video, to interact with me, to ask me some questions. It's a great time. So thank you so much for doing that. All right, what else we got here? A couple more. Aspen Ronnie says, like Lionhead, Dutch Mini Lop, Holland Lop, ones that are not meant for meat. Oh, would I ever breed those? Probably not. I don't have anything against that. I'm breeding for meat purposes. I don't really have the space or the money to go out and buy those rabbits and to breed them just to film a video on it and post it. But it works the same way. It doesn't matter what kind of rabbit you have. They breed the same way. It all works the same way. So hopefully that kind of helps a little bit. Sorry, probably not going to breed those rabbits, but you never know. All right, let's see. Bird Breeder says, thanks. We'll let KC Quail Farms know you sent us. Yeah, do let him know. I don't get anything off of that. Just let him know. I want him to know that he's getting some business from here. Andrew Badcock says, thank you for all the great tips. Well, hey, thank you for joining. I appreciate the kind comments. Taylor G says, see you next week. Yeah, I'm hoping I'll be on next week. Again, I have got a business trip next week. I'm going to be out of town, actually out of the country. You guys can guess where I'm going next week. In fact, you guys probably don't even know what I do for a living, so you can guess at that too. I'll tell you if you're right. And I'll be out of the country next week. I don't know if I'll have time or ability to film the video or to go live, but I'm going to do my best to do that, so hang in there. We'll see. Hope and Faith Family Farm says, thank you for all your great videos. You're helpful. Thank you so much for watching. I'm glad you find them helpful. William Hernandez says, love the way you respond to every comment. Boy, I try. I don't get every one of them. It gets difficult to do. I can't hardly keep up with them. So if I miss a comment, then it's unintentional. I try to respond to every single comment. I do my best. And so far I am. I just passed a little over 8,000 subscribers. Who knows how long I'll be able to respond to every comment, but I'm doing the best that I can right now. That mosquito flew right into my mouth. It's Declan says, is $2 a good deal for quail? It depends on what they go for in your area, how old they are. Around here, $2 will get you about a 2-week-old quail. And that's not a bad deal. That's just pretty standard. There's my dog again. I thought he was going to run me over. All right. Any silver fox breeders? Well, you know, I picked up a silver fox from a breeder in Oklahoma, just across the line, around Miami, Oklahoma, if you know where that is, or Miami, Oklahoma, as we say it around here. But I don't know if they've got any more, and I don't know, you know, where silver fox breeders are in the rest of the country. Fitness Freak says, an accountant. No, I'm not an accountant, but people mistake me for that all the time. When I do tell them what my job is, they always think I'm an accountant. Pranks for Days says, can you breed 2 different species like Bob White and Standard Brown? No, they're different species. They won't interbreed. At least I don't think they will. It'd be like a horse and a donkey create a mule. If they did breed, it would create a sterile. It wouldn't. But no, they're different species. They wouldn't be able to breed. That's my thought on it anyway. I have to look that up to see for sure, but I'm pretty sure that's right. International quail breeder extraordinary. Well, I'm going out of town or out of the country on business, not on quail farming. It's what I do for a living, my day job. You guys probably wouldn't like me if you knew what my day job was. Besides leg bands, this is Sierra Dates. Besides leg bands, is there anything that you can do, or you've tried to marking your quail with successfully, especially chicks, you want to keep an eye on? I've heard of like using like magic marker on them, felt tip markers, putting a dot on the top of their head or something like that. But I don't really do that. That might work though. Something in the ministry, bird breeder, good guess. But no, I don't do that. I am a church elder, but that's not a job. That's just something I do. So no, I don't do anything in the ministry for a living. Question, what do you amend your soil with to help with drainage? You have a lot of clay where you're at. Look at sheet mulching it. Sheet mulching, you know, lay down cardboard. I did a whole video on sheet mulching, how to sheet mulch your garden bed. Go look at that. I have really bad clay soil here, and sheet mulching works great. I don't have to water nearly as much. I don't have drainage problems like that. It works great. So that would be what I would suggest. Check out my video on that. It's not difficult. It's a pretty easy process, and most of the stuff you can probably get for free to do it with. It really, do it now or in the fall, and it'll be ready for spring. Because you don't want to do it and then, you know, plant into it right away. You want to give it at least the fall or a little bit longer to sit before you start planting into it. Andrew Backhawk guessed I'm with the IRS. Prepared Brad said auditor. Nope, that's not correct either. Survivalist Tim Trevette said, have I ever used 3-day-old ones? Have I ever had 3-day-old ones? I think you mean quail probably. Have like a paralyzed state and then die on newly hatched quail. Oh, you do mean quail. I've had a few 3-day-old quail die or you know, somewhere around in there, have a paralyzed state. If they kind of fall over and they can't move, a lot of times that's splayed legs, which could be because they're getting poor traction on whatever surface they're on. You know, it doesn't happen frequently enough that it's anything that I worry about. So, I don't know, with a little bit more information, we might be able to troubleshoot that. I'm running out of time to do that on this video, but if you come back in the comments, I might be able to follow up with you on that. You're saying like a limp neck. Yeah, who knows? There's all kinds of things that could be happening with them. I'm not sure what a limp neck would be. Bird Breeder says immigration. No, I don't work for immigration. It's Declan says, do you have any tips on sexing quail? You may get sick of hearing this, but I did a video on that. I think it's called 3 Easy Ways to Sex Your Quail. Some of them you can feather sex when they start to hit sexual maturity. You can just listen for the males to crow and pick out which ones are the males. Or vent sexing. Vent sexing is pretty easy too. I show in that video how to do it. Go back and check that out and it will explain all of that to you. Bird Breeder says FBI. No, I'm not with the FBI. And I'm not with the TSA. That was Fitness Freak. Bird Breeder says import, export. No, I don't do that. I'll just tell you guys. Somebody's in Trinidad there. Cameron Dupree in Trinidad. Well, thank you for joining from Trinidad. Appreciate that. Johnny G says, awesome channel. Thank you very much for those kind comments. I will tell you guys what I do. I work for a call center. I'm a telemarketer. Actually, I'm not a telemarketer anymore. I'm an account manager for a call center. And I manage a click-to-chat group. So like when you go on a website and it says click here to talk to somebody, that's what I manage. That's the group. I kind of handle the company-client relationships. So I'll be out of the country next week dealing with a team of my reps that works in another country. Actually in the Dominican Republic. That's where I'll be next week, Santiago. Told you guys wouldn't like me if you knew what I did for a living. It's Declan says you only been watching. Oh, don't apologize for that. You said, sorry, I've only been watching your channel for almost 2 weeks. Thank you so much for watching for 2 weeks. I appreciate it. Don't apologize. Ask any questions you want. I'm not trying to be rude by saying I've got another video, go back and watch it. It's just way easier than trying to rehash it on here. Thank you for watching all the videos that you do watch. I appreciate it. Survivalist Tim Trevette says, sounds like an awesome job. Well, it pays the bills. I work for a good company, good people, and like I said, it pays my bills. It's not a bad job. Just like any other job, it's got its ups and downs, but I'm good at it. I've been doing it for 20 some odd years. Boy, longer than I want to think. And so it works out pretty well for me. Philippines the next month. No, I don't think I'll be in the Philippines, at least not anytime soon. We have a team in Dominican Republic. That's as far away as it goes. Today, your wife, Johnny G says, today you and your wife just bought your first female and male breeding pair of rabbits. We're excited to get started. I'm excited for you guys. Good luck with that. I'm sure it'll work out really well. I got something in my eye here. Probably a mosquito. All right, guys, I got to wrap this up. Questions coming in. I can't pull myself away, but it's been about an hour. I got to get off here. I got other things to do, responsibilities to take care of. Hate to cut it short while everybody's right in the middle of videos, but thank you very much. Somebody said the first video they watched was my cage making one. If you're talking about the rabbit cage, that was the very first video I ever produced, and thank you for watching it. I know it's kind of rough to sit through. Hopefully my video skills have improved since then. So I'm going to sign off now. Thank you guys so much for watching. As I say every video, God bless you all, and hit me up in the comments section after this video and let me know what you guys like to see on future videos. I live stream every single week. Again, next week we'll see because I'm out of the country, but I'm going to do my best to go ahead and live stream anyway. Got to go. Thank you guys for watching. God bless. Take care, and we will talk to you guys on the next video. Bye.